Thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers program from Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. As usual, we welcome you back, and as usual, we try to share some more knowledge. As Rick mentioned, we're a couple of minutes late, as President Trump has asked for any advice, and was a piece of advice given, and we were busy with that one, and sorry about the delay, a few minutes. As you know, we are working hard in all directions with different governments, with different structures, trying to bring technology in exchange for peace. As some of you must have read the article, which has been published past few minutes, I have again emphasized to the American president, we know they read, and we know they are, especially the Iranian and the Chinese and the Americans are online today, that it's no use talking about peace, trying to saying by the 20th of January, they come, they want to see the end of all wars and whoever starts the wars and the rest of it. But we saw what happened to his mistakes with his first term, where he says he stopped all the wars and there were no wars, but he didn't stop production of arms. And when he left the office, there was a stockpile of arms, and we saw what happened. Arms sold to Ukraine, found their way into Gaza, and then they started a war. And the same arms, 150, 180 billions of it, was used in Ukraine, estimated 2.5 million up to now dead, injured, and this, what you call it, vanished in that war. And then we see again selling off the arms by Biden's government on the same basis. So my advice was, and is, as if you read it, is instead of talking about stopping the war, find a job for your scientists that don't make any more tools of wars. And the only way is a new technology, then to replace, to use all these brains for and everything else. So it's not a matter of just bringing technology, it's bringing it or creating condition to create peace. And this is what is important. And all adds up together, how we see each other and how we, is the perception of man as what you call as a creature in the universe, that it likes to kill, to destroy, to confirm. We do it on the national sides, we do it as a cities, and we do it as families, and we do it in public. In a way, fighting and destruction has become a habit of man. And then we find a reason to do it. And this is all, that's what we said, it needs to be changed in the DNA of the man. That the conflict and superiority and all that which feeds conflict and wars can come to a halt. Maybe the situation with Trump is a new beginning, but as we've seen, none of the world leaders do and act as what they say. Chinese claiming to be wanting superiority to create a peace, but in fact we see the opposite. The armies are, what you call it, armed to the tooth, and the latest weapon technologies just to show we are more powerful. The games has gone bigger, and if this gets to space, then it creates more mayhem. So we have to change the philosophy of man's peace on this planet, then we can go to space. And 2025 is a point for its start. Going back to the teaching, we are opening a door in technology and science that has to parallel in every shape or form to the science of space. We have to find technologies, we have to understand the technology on the same basis, on the same parallel level, that we start getting used to it on this planet before become passengers of space. And there are a number of things we have to cover: communication, food, energy, transfer of energy, transportation, looking after the environment, and how we learn to consider others more important than us in every aspect, be it the human, be it the space we live in, be it the animals and the creatures of this planet or outside. We have to find a common ground and find how we can reach this level of understanding. Providing technologies does not and is not the answer to a peaceful man. Maybe in some cases makes man more aggressive and more demanding and more warmongering. So we have to change the DNA of the man. We have to show man a new way, a new direction, a new sense of what we call belonging, to be part of. Detachment from physicality in the dimension and the direction of what we call new technology. Science of understanding ourselves. How we walk to go to a place, or how we can go to the place and then manifest ourselves without walking. This is the option of new technology. This is what we talked about last time. This is how we need to learn to switch. To switch from the matter state to the energy state and back to energy state, or back to another dimension in your stage, or back to a physicality in new dimension. In a way, we know how to do this. In a way, we have deliberately denied ourselves this. What does this mean? We know how to switch from physical into energy, but we have put a curtain on. We all do. We say, I go to sleep. I need to rest. That process is, in a way, we do half switch. We stop the physical condition of walking, eating, whatever we do, to stay stationary and let the system work internally. Which means the energy go into operation. And in that operation, we have switched on out of fear, out of confirmation that we still are here, to half system, which means half of our brain is repairing half of the body and the other half stays alert in case anything happens and is on a full blast operation. This is why when you sleep, the smallest noise can wake you up. Anything can disturb you and you get up. Or you go back to a transition of energy on both sides of physicality balance and you wake up. You go back to the dimension of physicality. What happened if we trust to allow instead of half of the brain, half of the body to go into a sleep mode or energy mode, that the whole structure goes into energy mode? Then transmutation is possible, because physicality has and is given a dimension of access to universal energy, to where it wants to go, to how it wants to go. And then we decide. In a way, in the sessions coming up in February, March and April, we try to get you through this transition, to be able to allow both sides of your brain to go into transmutation. It means to go to use energy. And then you decide to get your physicality moving. The technology is advanced enough that we can promote this part of the technology, which means allowing you to go on a full transmutation directly by yourself. Then you decide if you want to take the physicality with you, or you stay in control as a whole and not half a lead. Many of you have experienced this full transition, but you have a problem in trusting to let go of the dimension of physicality. For this reason, we are extending the teaching, as I said before, into one track, one line, one field energy, as we spoke last week. What does this mean? You don't need to cover the whole spectrum of the energy to go into transmutation. You choose a specific path, a specific energy. You choose, I go to sleep. You choose a bed, and you always go to that bed. And in that position, you go to sleep. You accepted half transmission or transmutation. Now, we want to create an environment that you go into this environment and you can go through full transmutation, which means you go through full energy cycle, which means a specific. The bed is a specific place we go to sleep. On a matter state, we choose a specific energy field that allows us to trust ourselves to work with this, what we call the central energy part. We go to a specific place to sleep. Now we choose a specific line of energy to transmute. It's like you always go to certain airport to take off. You go to certain energy level in your dimension of energy that you know it gives you access to transmute or to transfer. This is an art. And by the first session in February, we will show you how, we support you how, and we put you on that level that you can choose. Either way, you say, count the number of ships till you go to sleep. Now you choose a bandwidth, you choose an energy level, which we support you with from outside and through system headphones to go to that point. Then you learn, this is the place I go to sleep. This is the energy level I need to transmute or need to go into the energy level, even having the physical body with me. This is part of the teaching of last week, which now we try to bring it in the dimension of physicality, dimension that you can actually add to. You need to be trained. You, when you were a child, mom told you 8 o'clock is a sleep time. And then when you grow up, you made it 12 o'clock to be the sleep time because you moved the time by your choice and you change the position where you want to sleep. Now we do the same. But you go through the position of allowing your energy level to take full control of your, what we call dimension of operation, and not keeping one half awake, which is the reason why man is attached to physicality and everything else goes with it. Because once you go into the level of the energy level, you can feed the physicality. You don't wake up hungry. You don't see a demand to feed with physicality, and then everything changes. The same comes with energy. It comes with everything else. It's very easy to do that, to be able to access the energy, because we think of food. What about our transmutation? What about what you had experienced in the last sessions, that you can go to where you want, but energy for that is different than the energy that the man needs in the physicality. This is why you come out of the system and you still feel hungry, or you want to eat something, you lose interest in eating, because the line of the energy conversion from carbon 14, or energy of the what we call universe, to man is not completed. You have created that filter knowingly, because unknowingly you're still using 80% of it. And that is where the game starts. And with a new communication system we are bringing out, and many of you are hopefully working with it, is that you decide how to and where to, at which level to go to transmute, to transfer energy. Uh, and this is part of the knowledge which we need to understand. This is part of the knowledge that we need to feel to understand. This is a part of knowledge that we need to adjust to understand. It's not that I go in the machine and from tomorrow I transmute, I don't eat. You have to adjust the body physicality to fall within the structure of the creation. You cannot just go, I don't eat anything from tomorrow and I just use ganses or whatever. You have to adjust the brain. You have to adjust the internal energy of the soul to be able to tap into ganses which you provided. Not just by them being there. You don't have a digestion system for it, or you don't have the connection system to it. You have not made the connection for it to be. In the last year, in the last week pictures of the screen, we saw all the fruits, but there were ganses on the, what we call the tubes, on the cylinders. We have to be able to tune into them, to what I need. But does everything need to have a taste, to have the smell, to know that you receive the energy of it? The apple gives you all the energies on the whatever name of vitamin, whatever minerals, whatever to you. But do you need to taste the apple? Do you need to have the feeling of the apple? Or you adjust the body that it takes from the tube where apple is in it, the energies which is needed by your body to transmute. You got to understand, as I explained last time, when you receive these food systems, you got to realize is an intermediary. Is not that, let's say it's got garlic in it, or it's got apple in it. You take from it what you need by holding it, but it itself, through its structure, takes energy from the universe, from the space, which means we'll never finish. Before, if you made ganses, if you look singular ganses, you saw it, a reduction in the jar, the amount of the ganses deplete most of the time because they share energy, they change color. In the composition of food ganses, you don't see that. What does this mean? We have lost the screen, Rick. What this means is that the system, due to combination of materials in it, taps into many energy fields. This means that never ends. When you're singular, it's very hard to tune to. When you are multiple, you can attract from different directions and dimensions. So, in the coming time, as we introduce the new systems, especially the one which holding in your hand, the two systems, a new technology, a new knowledge will be shared, that you can understand it, you can feel it. When you have these ganses in your hand and you want to take the energy from them, it won't happen, because these are energy levels which have to connect to your body, to the soul, to the source, which knows where is needed. And these are the new technologies, in a way, exchanging food. I wonder in next few years, as this technology develops in a way, you go to the supermarket now, you buy apple, oranges, you go to a supermarket, very small, and different type of cancers on the window. I need to have this, I need to have that. This is what I want to learn to tune into. We replace rows and rows of food, maybe with a small cabinet with everything you need in it. Would you walk beyond the cabinet to look for a meat, a piece of flesh, maybe a tomato, when you know I don't need to touch? The energy which I get from it is in this, what I can take from the cabinet. This is part of the structure. This is part of the process of the teaching. In converting, in showing you how to convert energy, universal energies on carbon 14 to carbon 13 and carbon 12. If you need to leave dimension of physicality, you can only tap into carbon 13 to bring it down, to convert and use it in the dimension of the soul. Then you do not need to kill. You do not need to use other. If you look at the structure of the body of the man, you have sugar, which is carbon and hydrogen. Then you have again water, which is a hydrogen and oxygen. And then you have the combination of the earthly connections, which is your nitrogen. Conversion into storage. Where you come to use the energy side of your body, you don't need the nitrogen. And this is where all the problems start. Connection to that nitrogen, connection to the Kohan, which is the amino acid. Once man learns to work between the hydrogen and the carbon, and combination of it, man becomes man of space. The problem with man, with greed, with hunger, with power, all is connected to that nitrogen. In a way, when you go into the dimension of the energy, you do not need the dimension of the nitrogen. And there is an emphasis on every breath we take that we are connected to this planet, because 60% of the air we breathe is nitrogen. In a way, man should learn to use his environment to create energy for that environment. Would we stop breathing once we go into transmutation? Doesn't mean that we do not need to breathe. We bring the physicality in the fields of the universal energy of the soul of the man, and then we become detached from the dimension of this planet, which is a conversion of nitrogen. If you look at it, if you understand it, if you ever had time to think for 1 second, you would have realized by breathing, we are taking in amino acid, 65% nitrogen. There is a carbon in the air, there is oxygen in the air, and there is a hydrogen in the air. So in a way, our lung is a amino acid protein absorber of energy attached to this planet. We take that amino acid as a meat, as vegetable, but we breathe it every second. Every breath we take amino acid in. But we never been given the line of thinking, because now we don't take the animal, we don't take from a body, but we take from the body of this planet, from atmosphere of this planet. Just look at the structure of the air you breathe. It's another protein, but in a gaseous dimension, which we never think. This is where our attachment to physicality comes, to this planet, indoctrinated with every breath we take. Once we go in the dimension of energy, we separate that line of nitrogen, and then we learn to become man of space, because we rely on a hydrogen and a carbon. When we talk about dimension of energy, when we talk about dimension of the physicality, the only difference is to take energy from the dimension of the space and then let the body of the man to convert it, if he needs it, in a dimension of physicality at a point, time, or place. Because when you go to planet Zeus, there's no nitrogen. How do you manifest yourself? But there is element of the storage in that space. It could be from gold to mercury to God knows what, even helium, depending on the combination. But in fact, the carbon and hydrogen will never change. One is connection to dimension of place, position. One is connected in another strength to the creator. One is connected to our own creation connection. So wherever we see life in the universe, it has to have a combination of a hydrogen, which what we call the base, and the connection, what we call the carbon, line of communication to feed the base, to communicate with the base. And then in between, you need the storage of the space, manifestation of physicality, and the gravity. Gravity comes from the oxygen on the earth, and manifestation of storage comes from nitrogen. In a way, we want to be detached from this planet, but we cannot, because every breath we take, we're taking amino acid in. 60% nitrogen, 15-16% oxygen, then you have percentage of the carbon, and then you have a percentage of what we call the hydrogen. So we are a continuous protein eaters, breathers, and we never think of it. But when we sleep, we switch half. We still breathe. Our rhythm changes because only half of the body needs to be fed with the energy, the protein of the air of this planet. Air is not just what we breathe, it's the energy we take in and how we convert it. And then you understand, when years ago, when I explained we had a Indian guru with us in the Sansano, I told him you cheat, because you change the condition of the lung, you change the protein, so body takes it in. We have to learn, in a space we don't have the lungs to breathe. We don't have access all the time to what we call gasified protein. But we have access to the energies of the body of the universe, to the line of hydrogen with the essence of creation, and what we call the fundamental line of energy, and the carbon, which is the connection to what we call the environment of, which is created out of its own by carbon-60 and the rest of it, which gives it dimension. When you understand this, then you understand when I speak about the new technology, new system, which is already under production and testing in the laboratories of the Keshe Foundation, where one system will give you the water, the same system gives you the air, the same system gives you the energy, the same system gives you the flight, the same system gives you everything you need. But according to the time, place, and position. In the process of the teaching, as I said, is to find singular line of energy. As I said last time, you find there is a line between your soul and the planet Moon on a specific position. In a way, every single one of us has a GPS made by the universal magnetic fields. In the physical dimension, you do it, but you do it in a very subtle way, and you've done it so much that you don't think about it. But in fact, it's the same thing. Supermarket is down the road. I wake up. I have to walk to the supermarket get to the point where my emotion, my feeling told me I need to buy a bottle of milk. I walk the physicality to the supermarket, to the shelf, to the bottle, and I walk it back. Now we have to learn the same thing, not to learn in a way, to retrain ourselves. That I think I want milk. I don't need to get the physicality moving all the way to the shelf to the thing. I, through breathing, create the protein which is in that milk bottle where I send the physicality to fetch it for me to feed myself, to keep the operation of the body going through the same way. You don't need to go to the supermarket to get the milk to get the energies of what you need. Why do you think, oh, I feel I need milk? Why do you think, oh, I feel like banana? Why do you think you get up and have a drink, have a glass of water? Because your brain has said to you, this is what the physicality needs. You do the walking. But the soul and the emotion have already decided where you're walking, to the fridge, to get it. This way, you decide, I don't send the physicality. I do it to the central energy field force, which I call it a sleep. The whole problem with the world of science today is that this has not been defined for us. And we have blindly accepted it. I call it Trump factor. It's very easy. When you're ignorant, when you don't understand it, it works for you and you think the guy is right. What we call tariffing. He talks about tariff. We tariff China and then they don't import. You pay the taxes. You pay the penalty, not the Chinese. It's the same. You pay the penalty, not your physicality. You have to learn to use the system. What you ignored, but what you know. Just stand still and think, how come I can live, I can breathe, I can feed energy to myself when I'm asleep? When you're asleep, when you're lying in a position, your physicality has no physical motion in a way, but you're still breathing, you're still taking protein in. It's not just the air you breathe, it's the food you breathe. And you've never been told, you never understood. Every gasp of air we take in protein, food, and how we convert it. But our scientists never understood, our people never understood, and they say it's oxygen. How can it be the oxygen when 60% is nitrogen, what you absorb? What you take in? And they have brainwashed us into, we're taking oxygen and we're giving the CO2 back. What happened to the nitrogen, which is the most of it? What energy level of that nitrogen was there to feed, to elevate, and for you to receive energy in your soul that it allows you at a diluted level, because gas is nearest to the plasma and your brain takes it straight away when you breathe air, to go into what you call you dream, or what we call your soul transferring, your soul traveling. And then you understand why we are attached so much to breathing. Why are we attached to air of this planet? In a space there is no air to breathe. Then man becomes detached. And part of the process of the what we call the next sessions of the February, March and April is to bring that to detach from the nitrogen. In a way, singularity to destination. Because as long as you have the attachment to the what we call gasified protein, you'll never go because it's easy source. But then you have to identify the position. You have to identify the place. If our knowledge seekers who came to Linz and went through the system, we had people who decided to meet each other in certain cities, certain places, never been there before, or they could meet, and they did. So we can decide the GPS, we can decide, but we have to detach from the protein side of the physicality of the body of the man on this planet. It'll be interesting in the sessions to come when we ask you to take the measurements of your blood, your oxygen level, your what we call the sugar level, to see during the sessions how your body changes, how much you are going towards the sugar side, energy side, universal connection, or you're going more towards the what we call the nitrogen side and the protein side. And then we understand how much we are attached to this planet and what we need to do to become, to be able to transmute. Then we choose what strength to transmute to. How frequently can you go back and do the same? In some of the tests in Linz, we tried this. We knew people coming out of the machine, we send them back in the machine, they could go back to the same place, collecting the stones and seeing things and telling us what they see. So you can tune to, this is the office I go to, this is a supermarket I go to, this is the place on the moon, on Mars, or another position in the universe. One of the most interesting for many of you when you start transmuting is the fact that I've never been to planet Zeus. But where do I go to? It's a new city, I don't know. It's like you land in the airport. Then you rely on the universal knowledge. You rely on the universal positioning. Then you rely on the knowledge of your soul and a dimension and connection to that point. This is all to come. This is why in the sessions we told you go to the moon. Can you go to such and such a place? And this will be taught in much deeper way, will be tested in much deeper way in the next quarter sessions. We are preparing you to go to flight. We are preparing the whole structure due to technological development to move to the next phase, next time. All we need to do to specify the position. And then it's you who decides, I take the energy system with me, which is my soul, we call it, to that point. And then I create a memory of the time and the place for the physical side to understand and to remember. The technological development comes from understanding the technology of the creation, not by a machine which made by man. We carry it within us. There is no mechanical system, but your body continuously does everything according to field motion of what we call magnetic field within your body. Sometimes it shows itself in a physical movement, but in fact, is even that physical movement, even your heartbeat, the motion of your heart, the beat of your heart is totally to do with the magnetic field energy and how much energy is stored and what needs to be released. And what does it create in that motion and release? Then you see, if you understand it, your body is a universe. You want to learn about the galaxies, you want to learn about the creator, look within, energy side, not the physical side. God does not have arms and legs, and he doesn't have a digestion system. You don't see digestion system in the plasma of the soul of the man, but you see distributing system which allows certain energies to be the provider, attractor of given strength. And this is the whole course of the teaching of coming up. In 2025, you should be able to transmute. In 2025, you should be able to decide where to go. And as I said, you arrived there. So what? What's next? I arrived on planet Zeus. What's the language here? How do people interact? What's the culture? What's the scenery? Can I create myself a dimension of the vision without the eyes to feel the place, to be part of the place? This all needs learning. The way many of you in the past few months have learned more and more not to eat certain things you don't need, but you feel the energy. Now you're gaining confidence and you're ready for that next level to go and to do. Then you have the next step to understand, to accept. Do I stay on the line of physicality, or I go to the dimension of energy, or I tap into the energy of this planet through the gaseous plasma of the what we call the planet, but I travel in the dimension of energy. In a way, I leave something behind. This is one of the reasons when we die, we stop breathing. We stop attachment to the gaseous amino acid of this planet, because now the energy source can tap into the energy of the universe. With the knowledge man gains, you don't need to die physically to be able to do. Maybe if you understand in the future, you use that universal energy to purify the air you breathe. In a way, with it, change the emotion, because that creates the soul of physicality which touches your physicality, and you can repair the physicality. Maybe today we, as I said, open another door into the knowledge of understanding yourself. As long as you're connected to the what we call plasma gaseous amino acid of this planet, you can never leave. You can never transmute. Unless you trust that I have access to universal energy which can feed my dimension of physicality as I need at the place, time of manifestation. On this planet, you have Mr. Cohen as part of your amino acid. On planet Zeus, sorry, there is no nitrogen level. So your dimension of physicality will not be the same. And then you have to learn to convert. As I said before, there is a fallacy that the man will travel with a space suit with a little cloth and can keep everything inside. Let the man really try and see if he works that way. If he wants to be the passenger of the universe and travel the depth of the universe. There is something very simple. When you go up a few kilometers from the surface of this earth, you become floating, weightlessness. Man has never tried to do this in the space and see if he survives. That does not need the connection to the amino acid of the planet, which what we call the oxygen which we create. It is interesting if the world of science one day decides to test the amount of amino acid which comes out of your breath in exhaling compared to what you take as amino acid while inhaling. In a way, when we use a solid, what we call protein, as a flesh of the animal or a fruit or whatever, in our excrement we see the same. Protein is ejected. The world of science, it measures the air we breathe as a protein and try to see what protein comes out. Then we see, we understand what our soul has used for its elevation. If man understands this, then man finds the path to letting the physicality go and living by the dimension of the field energy of the universe, than the gaseous condition of the amino acid of the man on this planet. Try to understand the game played by the hydrogen and the carbon. You add 2 or 3 hydrogen, you create the nitrogen. You add a couple of more hydrogen in a different form, different strength, you create your oxygen, which has become the essence of a physicality. You create your physicality from interaction of the hydrogen and the carbon, and this is how the universe was created. But man creates his own universe through his amino acid, which is his physicality. Now, understand how and the way you can, in a way, choose a bit to leave the physicality, or choose a field strength that you can transmute through dimension of energy. It's interesting how mankind will take this further, and how you will balance the energy fields of the universe with the energy with the position and location and time. Once you learn that, you can travel and you can live in both dimensions. But you have to understand first, once you get understands the other side, cannot be the abuser of the other. We go for a break, we come back and try to answer any of your questions.